The stench of spent ammunition and burned circuitry lingered in the recycled air of the Astra Valiant. Angel Rodriguez moved through the makeshift medical wing with practiced urgency, his weathered features set in determined concentration. Flickering overhead lights revealed suspended diagnostic drones, rows of triage beds, and anxious medical personnel working frantically to save lives. It was the late 25th century, about 2 centuries into humanity's membership in the Galactic Coalition. Relations with the Valdari, an emerald-skinned humanoid species, remained uneasy at best. Cultural misunderstandings and political tension persisted despite years of attempted diplomacy. Angel navigated through the cramped space, his tall, lean frame sidestepping a harried nurse. The station's overhead holo announcements alternated between medical codes and security alerts, a constant reminder of the precarious balance they maintained here. Humans had been dispatched as peacekeepers and medics to this war-torn planetary system, while the Valdari, despite their technological prowess, suffered their own crisis. Strict genetic lineages had eroded their once legendary psychic gifts, and their population was in steep decline. "Rodriguez, I need you over here," called Dr. Marisol Martinez, the station's chief xenobiologist physician. Her stern but compassionate demeanor had made her both partner and occasional foil to Angel's more instinctive approach to medicine. Angel moved to her side, taking in the sight before him. On the triage bed lay a small Valdari child, no more than 8 years old, with pale jade skin and large golden eyes that fluttered weakly. A gaping wound across her abdomen defied all known medical protocols. Blood, a strange silvery green, seeped through the temporary bandages. "What happened?" Angel asked, already reaching for a scanner. "Caught in crossfire during the Eastern Sector skirmish," Dr. Martinez replied. "Her name is Kira. We've tried everything in the handbook, but her physiology is rejecting our standard treatments." Angel had seen his share of crises during his deployments: burning buildings, chemical attacks, pandemic outbreaks. But the sight of this alien child, so fragile and fading, struck something deep within him. His determination to save lives, regardless of species, was more than protocol. It was his core. "Vitals are plummeting," Dr. Martinez announced, her voice tight. "Her hemoglobin equivalent is crashing. We need a transfusion, but there's no compatibility data for Valdari children. Standard transfusions have failed in past experiments." Angel's mind raced. Years of combat medicine had taught him that when protocols failed, instinct and courage were sometimes all you had left. "I'm O-negative," he said suddenly. "Universal donor for humans." Dr. Martinez looked at him sharply. "That's absurd. Cross-species transfusion hasn't been successfully documented between humans and Valdari. It could kill her faster." "She's dying anyway," Angel countered, already rolling up his sleeve to reveal old scars and needle tracks, evidence of his role as a universal donor through countless deployments. "I can't stand by and watch her die when there's even a chance." For a heartbeat, Angel hesitated. Protocol warned against it. His training rejected it. But his moral compass pointed clearly. This child deserved every chance at life, no matter how unlikely. "Do it," he said firmly. Within moments, Angel's deep red blood flowed through a hastily modified transfusion apparatus and into Kira's small body. The medical staff watched in tense silence, expecting rejection, shock, or worse. Instead, the impossible happened. Kira's sickly gray jade skin brightened to a healthy luminescent jade before their eyes. Her breathing steadied, deepening from shallow gasps to even rhythm. Most astonishing of all, the tissue across her abdominal wound began to knit together at impossible speed, closing like time-lapse footage of a healing process that should have taken weeks. Dr. Martinez stared in disbelief, her scanner recording data that defied all xenobiological understanding. "This is unprecedented," she whispered. "Her cellular regeneration has increased by 800%. Your blood isn't just compatible, it's acting as a catalyst." As the monitors normalized with healthy readings, Kira's golden eyes fluttered open. She gazed at Angel with confusion and wonder. Then, through the tent flap, strode a tall, regal Valdari woman, emerald skin glinting under station lights, copper-red hair cascading in waves. Silver tattoos denoting nobility shimmered across her forearms and temples. Her bearing commanded attention and respect from everyone in the room. She kneeled gracefully beside the bed, cradling her daughter with evident relief. "Kira, my starlight," she murmured in the lilting tones of the Valdari language. Then she raised her gaze to fix Angel with an intense, unreadable stare. "You," she said, switching to flawless galactic common. "You saved her when our greatest physicians deemed it impossible." Angel nodded simply. "I'm Angel Rodriguez, combat medic. I'm glad I could help." The Valdari woman rose to her full height, nearly matching Angel's 6 feet. "I am Lanessa of House Veth. You and I must speak of what this means." Her voice carried both gratitude and an underlying demand that sent an inexplicable chill down Angel's spine. "Of course," Angel replied, not yet understanding the gravity of what was to come. "After your daughter is stable." "Now," Lanessa interrupted, her golden eyes never leaving his. "We must speak now of what your blood has awakened." Lanessa escorted Angel away from the makeshift ward into a private medical reception area. Her courtiers and security detail cleared the corridor ahead of them. Station personnel, human and Valdari alike, watched with undisguised curiosity as they passed. In a sealed conference room, Lanessa gestured for Angel to sit. The cold, metallic walls amplified every footfall as she paced the perimeter. "Our species is dying," she said without preamble. "Valdari birth rates have declined for 3 centuries. Our genetics are weakening. The psychic gifts that once defined our people have faded to myth." Angel shifted uncomfortably. "I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm just a medic. I gave blood to save a child." Lanessa stopped pacing and leaned across the table, her intensity palpable. "You did far more than that. Your blood awakened something dormant in Kira's lineage, something our scientists have tried to recover for generations. The speed of her healing, the neural patterns now appearing in her scans. These are signs of ancient abilities returning." Angel frowned. "You want to discuss genetics? You want me to run tests? I saved an innocent child. Isn't that enough?" Lanessa's golden eyes narrowed. "I want you because you may save my entire house, and perhaps our species." The words hung in the air between them, heavy with implication. "What exactly are you asking?" Angel said cautiously. "Under Valdari law of genetic compact, anyone whose blood resurrects a lineage becomes bound to that house." Lanessa explained. "The compact requires intimate bonding until conception. Your genetic material, combined with our lineage, could restore what was lost." Angel recoiled, shock evident on his face. "That's barbaric. On Earth, we don't force people into reproductive arrangements." "We have watched our children die," Lanessa countered, her voice hard, but tinged with desperation. "Civilization demands sacrifice. Your human moral codes are a luxury my people can no longer afford." Angel stood abruptly. "I didn't agree to this. I gave blood to save a life, not to father a child or join your house." "You have until dawn tomorrow to decide," Lanessa said, unmoved. "After that, the opportunity to share your genetic essence with Kira's line is lost forever." She turned and strode toward the door, her silver-embroidered robes flowing behind her. "Consider carefully. Angel Rodriguez, you hold the future of many in your decision." She departed, leaving Angel torn in an empty corridor lit by red alert strobes. Alone in his bunk, Angel stared at the ceiling, reviewing the day's events. He had saved countless lives on remote worlds, but never encountered a scenario where one life could mean an entire species. He questioned whether he could sacrifice career, autonomy, and possibly his own humanity. The photograph of his late sister, also a medic, stared back at him from the small shelf above his rack. Her last words echoed in his mind. Save them all, no matter what they look like. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. Dr. Martinez entered, her expression grave. I've reviewed the scans, she said quietly. Lanessa wasn't exaggerating. Kira's neural pathways are showing activity patterns not documented in Valdari physiology for centuries. Hearts aside, you might really hold the key to their survival. Angel sighed. I didn't sign up to be a breeding stallion for an alien race. No one's saying it's fair, Dr. Martinez replied. But sometimes medicine requires us to go beyond our comfort zone. Lieutenant Harris, a human security officer and Angel's longtime friend, had a different perspective when Angel sought his counsel later that evening. If you stay with the Valdari, your superiors will see it as dereliction. You know that, Harris warned. The Coalition has strict protocols about genetic exchange and cross-species bonding. They'll court-martial you faster than a zillion can teleport. Angel nodded grimly. I know the risks. Then why are you even considering it? Angel had no simple answer. Part of him rebelled against Lanessa's demand, the presumption that his body was a resource to be claimed. Yet another part understood the desperation of watching a species fade into extinction. As dawn approached, Angel made his decision. He would meet Lanessa, but on his own terms. He would not be coerced, but neither would he turn his back on those he could help. In Lanessa's private quarters, a dimly lit chamber bathed in bioluminescent panels, Angel stood resolute. Curved walls of polished jade composite surrounded them, velvet cushions and an altar of ancestral relics adorning the space. Candles shaped like lotus blooms floated in midair, defying gravity through some Valdari technology Angel couldn't identify. Lanessa stood in flowing silver robes. Angel wore simple black attire. Soft echoes of Valdari incantations played from a hidden speaker, an adaptation of the ancestral binding tongue. The tension between them was palpable. Lanessa with her solemn duty, Angel with a maelstrom of guilt, hope, and fear. Each exchanged brief, halting pleasantries while recalling the stakes, the future of an entire people. I cannot accept compulsion, Angel stated firmly. If I do this, it must be a choice freely made, not a blood debt. Lanessa studied him. Then why are you here? Because saving lives is what I do, but I need to understand exactly what this bonding entails. Lanessa's expression softened slightly. The bonding is both physical and mental. For Valdari with active psychic lineage, intimacy connects minds as well as bodies. That connection may awaken dormant abilities in both participants. Angel considered this. And the child? Would be raised as nobility in Housefuth, honored as the beginning of a new chapter in our people's history, Lanessa replied. And you would have a place among us, should you choose to accept it. The formal language couldn't disguise the weight of the moment. Angel took a deep breath and made his decision. I consent to try, he said simply. Lanessa nodded, relief briefly crossing her features, before composure returned. She approached him slowly, reaching for his hand. We begin with touch, she explained softly. The bonding builds gradually. She traced Angel's scar-marked arm with gentle fingers. Angel marveled at her polished jade skin, warm to the touch despite its alien appearance. As their lips met in a tentative kiss, something unexpected happened. Their minds brushed against each other. Angel sensed fleeting, pastel-colored memories of Lanessa's childhood. She perceived his recollection of falling rain on Earth. A slow, surreal musical hum played in their shared consciousness. The psychic bond ignited, their heartbeats synchronized, and a swirl of golden and bronze light radiated around them. They experienced each other's emotions so vividly that tears formed unbidden in both their eyes. Lanessa's silver tattoos began to glow, pulses of energy traveling beneath her skin. Her wounded left arm, a scar from a years-old conflict, healed visibly, tissue knitting in real time. Angel felt a sudden rush of clarity, patterns and neural connections firing in his brain that defied human anatomy. Their physical and psychic union deepened, each moment bringing new revelations. Angel felt himself extending beyond his physical form, merging with Lanessa in a space where bodies and minds became one luminous entity. It was unlike anything in human experience, intimate beyond physical sensation, profound beyond words. Afterward, they lay together in stunned silence, the faint glow of their merged auras still shimmering around them. "What happened?" Angel finally managed. Lanessa's eyes held a new light. "The awakening, far more powerful than I anticipated. The ancient texts spoke of such unions, but they were considered myths or exaggerations." Angel could still feel her presence in his mind, not intrusive, but a gentle awareness, like knowing someone stands behind you without having to look. "I can sense you," he whispered. "Your thoughts, your feelings." "As I can sense yours," she replied. "This is how our ancestors lived, connected to one another through bonds of mind and heart. We had forgotten what was possible." Word spread quickly through the station. Dr. Vex, the Valdari chief physician, arrived to conduct scans on Lanessa, confirming a 300% increase in neural activity and hyper-accelerated cellular regeneration. Angel's own brain had begun producing novel neurotransmitters never before documented in human physiology. More astonishing still, other Valdari on the station began to show subtle signs of awakening, sharper reflexes, momentary telepathic flickers. Even some human medics noted improved pattern recognition and heightened intuition. "It's as if the bond between you has created a ripple effect," Dr. Vex explained, reviewing holographic data displays. "The psychic resonance is spreading, activating dormant neural pathways in others." Not everyone welcomed these developments. Colonel Hayes and Ambassador Cole convened a special directive council aboard the station. They summoned Angel to a formal hearing, their expressions grave. "Combat Medic Rodriguez, you have violated Section 47 of the Coalition Medical Protocol by engaging in unauthorized genetic exchange with a non-human species." Colonel Hayes began, his voice cold. "Furthermore, the resulting psychic contagion presents an unquantified security risk." "Contagion?" Angel repeated, disbelief in his voice. "People are developing enhanced cognitive abilities. How is that a threat?" Ambassador Cole leaned forward. "Any uncontrolled alteration to human neurology must be treated as a potential security breach. We demand you sever contact with the Valdari noble immediately, or face court-martial." Angel stood his ground. "With respect, Ambassador, I believe you're witnessing evolution, not contamination." On the Valdari side, similar resistance emerged. Elder Thane and traditionalist house members convened an emergency council, summoning Lanessa to answer for her actions. "You have allowed alien influence to corrupt our genetic heritage," Elder Thane declared, his ancient face creased with disapproval. "This human-induced transformation is anathema to our sacred bloodlines." Lanessa stood proud before the council. "Our sacred bloodlines were dying. Elder, would you prefer purity and extinction to adaptation and survival?" "We would prefer you honor the traditions that have sustained us for millennia." Elder Thane replied, "The compact must be dissolved. The human must be quarantined." These debates might have remained theoretical had events not forced a confrontation. The most extreme factions, armed human soldiers aligned with hardline colonials, accompanied by Valdari militants, launched a synchronized attack on the station's primary medical bay. Their goal: to abduct Kira and Lanessa's other children, isolate Angel, and publicly demonstrate the danger of cross-species bonds. Angel was checking on Kira when the first explosions rocked the medical bay. Through his newly enhanced senses, he felt Lanessa's alarm before he heard her warning cry. "They're coming for Kira," her voice echoed in his mind. "Northern corridor. Armed." Angel moved instinctively, his nano-weave tact boots carrying him silently across the floor. He grabbed a weapon breaker from a security lockup and positioned himself at the junction ahead of the attackers. Lanessa appeared from another entrance, her movements fluid and precise. Their eyes met across the room, and without words, they coordinated their defense. A squadron of militants burst through the doors, weapons raised. Angel sensed an ambush team flanking from the right before he saw them, Lanessa's mental warning guiding his awareness. He disabled the lead attacker with a precise strike to nerve clusters, while Lanessa deflected plasma bolts with a telekinetic shield neither of them had known she could generate. They moved in perfect synchronization, Angel's combat training complementing Lanessa's newly awakened abilities. He warned her of a sniper on the catwalk through a mental image. She guided his aim to disable rather than kill. Together, they neutralized the threat without lethal force, Angel targeting nerve clusters to disable, and Lanessa disarming weapons with telekinetic pulses. The attackers were restrained, not killed. As the dust settled, station personnel watched in awe, human and Valdari united as a single fighting force. Lanessa's silver tattoos glowed faintly from residual psychic energy. Angel's chest heaved with adrenaline. "This is what they fear," Angel said quietly to the onlookers. "Not because it's dangerous, but because it's powerful." Elder Thun and Colonel Hayes arrived at the medical bay, surveying the scene. Incapacitated militants, unharmed patients, Angel and Lanessa standing side by side. Elder Thun stepped forward, his ancient voice carrying measured authority. "Lanessa of House Veth, you will relinquish the compact and return with me to Valdari Prime for purification rituals. This aberration must end." Colonel Hayes followed suit. "Rodriguez, you're ordered to report to Earth Command for immediate debriefing and analysis of unauthorized genetic alteration. That's a direct order." Angel and Lanessa exchanged a glance, their psychic link shimmering between them. Through it, they shared a silent vow. Neither would bend. They had glimpsed something larger than themselves, larger than their respective civilizations' fears. "We did not ask for this bond," Angel stated, his voice steady. "But we will not apologize for it." Lanessa continued. "Nor will we allow fear to dictate the future of two species who have discovered they are more alike than different." The council adjourned to deliberate, leaving Angel and Lanessa in temporary limbo. Later, on a quiet observation deck, Angel gazed at the stars, replaying the day's events. The bond with Lanessa had changed him in ways he was still discovering. Enhanced perception, occasional flashes of precognition, and most strikingly, the ability to feel others' emotions as tangible sensations. Dr. Martinez found him there, her expression sympathetic. "The Colonel is preparing formal charges," she said quietly. "Unauthorized genetic modification, violation of species barrier protocols, refusal to obey direct orders." Angel nodded. "I expected as much. Are you certain this is the path you want to take? You've been a dedicated medic for years. This could end your career." Angel turned to face her. "I'm not abandoning my species. Marisol, I'm forging a new one." He smiled faintly. "Besides, what kind of medic would I be if I walked away from the greatest healing discovery of our time?" Dr. Martinez squeezed his shoulder. "History will remember this moment, not your uniform's fate." In her quarters, Lanessa faced a similar confrontation. Elder Thne had come personally to appeal to her sense of tradition. "By refusing to sever the compact, you defy centuries of tradition," he warned. "Your house is at risk of losing all standing. Is this human worth such a price?" Linessa's golden eyes flashed. My duty to my daughter and my conscience transcends outdated laws. Would you have me choose dogma over Kira's life, over the survival of our people? Our people have survived by honoring the ways of our ancestors, Elder Then insisted. Our ancestors would weep to see how we've twisted their wisdom into chains. Linessa replied. They developed these traditions to ensure our survival, not to ensure our extinction through blind obedience. A tear slipped down her cheek, the first crack in her regal composure. I have watched children of my house die from ailments our ancestors could have cured with a thought. If this bond can restore what we've lost, I would defy every law ever written. Elder Thene departed without resolution, his ancient face troubled by doubt for the first time in centuries. The ultimatums came swiftly. Colonel Hayes informed Angel he had 48 hours to rescind his position or face dishonorable discharge. Elder Thin delivered similar terms to Linessa: yield within the same time frame, or risk House Veth being stripped of all status and protection. Angel and Linessa refused to accept defeat. They visited Dr. Vex's laboratory, gathering evidence of the awakening's positive effects: medical logs, brain scan imagery, testimonial excerpts from station inhabitants experiencing enhanced abilities. They planned to present these to both human and Veldari councils as proof that evolution was not mere risk, but hope. They held an impromptu gathering on the station's grand observation deck, inviting mid-ranking officers, medics, and civilians of both species. There, they demonstrated an empathic exercise where volunteers briefly shared emotions telepathically. Many gasped at glimpsing another's feelings for the first time. A sense of shared humanity, Veldari solidarity, began to emerge among the witnesses. If evolution can bring us closer, Angel told the gathering, we cannot ignore it out of fear of the unknown. Still, the clock ticked toward the deadline, and neither side showed signs of yielding. The Veldari Council session took place on Veldari Prime, a stark contrast to the cramped station. The High Council chambers glittered with jade columns and crystalline vote tablets. Elder Thene presided with solemn gravity. Linessa spoke first, her voice clear and unwavering as she recounted the miraculous healing, psychic awakening, and wave of transformations among Veldari citizens. For 3 centuries, we have watched our children grow weaker, our minds dimmer, our population dwindling, she said. Now we have evidence that what was lost can be restored. Will we reject salvation because it came in an unexpected form? Factions opposed her vehemently. Genetic purity must be preserved, even at extinction, argued Councillor Zeth, his ancient face a mask of disgust. Better to die as true Veldari than live as something corrupted. Linessa's response rang through the chamber. What is purity if we die out? What legacy do we leave? These new gifts are not corruption. They are our ancestors' dormant heritage restored. The psychic abilities emerging now mirror exactly those described in our most ancient texts. The debate raged for hours, passionate arguments from both sides echoing off the crystalline walls. Finally, Elder Then called for a vote. By a narrow margin, 23 to 21, the council voted to embrace the awakening. They publicly acknowledged Angel's role and announced that the compact would stand. House Veth was elevated as a symbol of the new evolution, granted expanded authority to oversee integration of human genetic material where compatible. Meanwhile, in a virtual Galactic Coalition conference projected via HoloLink, Ambassador Cole and Colonel Hayes defended their position on removing Angel from active duty. We cannot allow unregulated psychic abilities to proliferate without proper security protocols, Colonel Hayes insisted. The potential for espionage, unauthorized access to classified information, and manipulation of non-psychic personnel creates unacceptable risks. Angel and Linessa, joining via holographic projection, presented their counter-evidence. They displayed data showing that awakened humans exhibited higher empathy, decreased violent tendencies, and increased problem-solving abilities. They proposed pilot projects for hybrid liaisons that could bring lasting peace between historically suspicious species. What you fear as contamination, Angel concluded, is actually the next stage of both our evolutions. We have the opportunity to pioneer a new era of genuine understanding between species, not merely translation of words, but direct sharing of experiences. The coalition representatives debated intensely, concerns about security balanced against the potential diplomatic and scientific benefits. Eventually, they reached a compromise. The coalition would create a hybrid evolution task force, with Angel appointed as its first liaison. He would keep his rank and receive diplomatic immunity to continue his work with the Valdari. Colonel Hayes was reassigned to a distant outpost, and Ambassador Cole stepped down, acknowledging that rigid caution had nearly cost them a historic opportunity for advancement. 6 months later, in the gleaming new medical facility on Valdari Prime, Angel cradled his newborn daughter, Arya, the first-generation human Valdari hybrid. Her eyes shifted between golden and brown in changing light. Her tiny fingers featured pale silver markings that would one day become the distinctive tattoos of Valdari nobility. Around them, awakened Valdari doctors gently monitored the facility's new psychic link interface, a medical breakthrough that allowed direct monitoring of infant vital signs through mental connection rather than invasive equipment. Linessa stood beside them, her silver tattoos now permanently glowing, her psychic aura visible to onlookers as a soft, luminescent mist. She smiled with relief and wonder. "She is the song between worlds," Linessa whispered, gazing at their daughter. A delegation of Valdari dignitaries and human diplomats witnessed the moment, standing in quiet respect. Even Elder Thne was present, his ancient face softened by wonder as he leaned forward and placed his hand over his heart in the traditional Valdari blessing. "May her life echo through eternity," he intoned, the formal words carrying new weight in this unprecedented moment. 5 years passed. Arya, now a precocious 5-year-old, stood on a balcony overlooking the twin sunset on Valdari Prime. The cities below had transformed, spires blending Earth-style geometry with Valdari crystalline artistry. Hybrid citizens moved freely through the streets, engaged in both verbal and telepathic discourse. Arya had already shown remarkable abilities, mediating disputes between human and Valdari factions, with an intuitive understanding beyond her years. She had helped pioneer the Consciousness Network, a mental link grid that fostered instantaneous empathy between connected individuals. Angel and Linessa joined their daughter on the balcony, their psychic bond now a constant, comfortable presence that had only deepened with time. Through it, memories swirled between them, the night in the orbital station, the desperate defense of the medical bay, the council victories, and countless moments of discovery since. "Do you ever regret it?" Linessa asked softly, her mind brushing against his. Angel shook his head. "Not for a moment. How could I regret the path that led to her?" He nodded toward Arya, who was experimenting with creating small, psychic light patterns above her palm. Arya turned to her parents, her mixed heritage evident in her features. Her mother's copper-red hair with streaks of her father's dark brown. Her skin, a warm bronze with faint jade undertones. Her eyes, shifting between human brown and Valdari gold depending on her emotions. "I'm sending a message," she announced with childish solemnity, "to everyone who can hear." Before they could respond, she closed her eyes in concentration. Angel and Linessa felt it immediately, a gentle wave of emotion radiating outward, touching all awakened minds across the hybrid coalition. It carried no words, only pure sentiment, unity, belonging, hope. "Unity is our inheritance," Arya said, putting words to the feeling she had projected. "Empathy, our gift. Let no barrier stand between sentient hearts." As the twin suns dipped below the horizon, Arya raised her small hands. The psychic energy around her intensified, her figure seeming to dissolve into a cascade of pastel lights that spread skyward. Not a physical transformation, but a visual manifestation of her consciousness, touching thousands of others simultaneously. It was a beacon of hope, heralding the ongoing song between worlds that had begun with a single act of compassion, a medic giving blood to save a dying alien child. In the hospitals of Valdari Prime, newborn hybrid children opened their eyes for the first time, their minds already connected to the growing network of consciousness. In Earth's diplomatic academies, students with faint silver markings practiced telepathic translation techniques. On distant outposts, former enemies worked side by side, occasionally sharing fleeting emotions that bridged cultural gaps no language ever could. And it had all begun with Angel's choice, to see beyond species, beyond protocol, beyond fear, to recognize that the fundamental nature of healing sometimes required breaking rules to forge new paths. As darkness fell completely over Valdari Prime, the lights of the hybrid city below glowed like earthbound stars, each one representing a life touched by the revolution of empathy that continued to spread. One mind, one heart at a time. Angel drew Lanessa close, their consciousness merging in the familiar, comforting way that had become as natural as breathing. Together, they watched their daughter, the living bridge between worlds, as she turned to them with a smile that held the future of two species in its radiance. "The councils were right to be afraid," Angel murmured. "Not because we were dangerous, but because we proved that everything they believed about separation and difference was wrong." Lanessa nodded. "Fear of the unknown is powerful, but courage to embrace it is stronger still." In the medical wing of the Hybrid Coalition headquarters, a plaque commemorated where it all began. From a single act of compassion, worlds unite. And in the stars above, new ships departed daily, carrying awakened ambassadors to species yet unmet, armed not with weapons, but with the revolutionary power of shared consciousness, and the lesson learned from Angel and Lanessa, that boundaries between sentient beings existed only until someone was brave enough to cross them. The song between worlds had only just begun.